All right, here's a question where they've asked you to solve this quadratic equation. One problem that I see right off the bat is that it's not all on the same side. So I have to have it in ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, right? So I'll do 4z squared, and then I'll bring this over to the other side, and it'll be a negative 16z plus 13 is equal to 0. Okay, to factor that, 52 things that multiply to 52 add to 16, yeah, not going to happen. And so I think I need to use a quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is, the answer to the question is, x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So this is a, this is b, and this is c. X is equal to a minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So b is a negative 16, a is a 4, and c is a 13. And then 2 times a again is a 4. So x is equal to, whoops, probably can't see that now. There. X is equal to a positive 16 plus or minus square root. Negative 16 squared will be a positive 256 minus 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 13. No idea. 256 less 48. 208? I don't know. Calculator. 4 times 4 times 13. 208. Ha! 208. All over 2 times 4 is 8. There's a whole lot of 8s in here. Okay, so x is equal to 16 plus or minus the square root. Okay, if I subtract that, is that 48? Yeah, 48 all over 8. Now, if you get to this point, pretty good. But that 48 looks awful suspicious, something that I could break down. Before I break it down, though, this is good. This would be known as an exact answer. If you wanted to know an approximate answer, you could just plug that in your calculator. Let me do that. So I'm going to go bracket 16, and let's do the plus version, plus square root 48. Okay, go over, divided by 8 equals. So that gives me about, so an approximate answer to that would be 2.866, something like that. You could round it off somewhere. And that gives you an idea where it crosses the x-axis. So at about 2.88, it's going to cross there. And there'll also be a negative 116 minus the square root of 48 all over 8. That'll give you another point, but the graph might look something like that. It might be a little bit different, but I know it crosses there. I just didn't figure out the other one. Now, if I wanted to get the exact answer simplified, what I need to do is focus on that 48 and look for a number, one of those perfect numbers, right? Like 4, 9, 16, 5 times 5 is 25, 6 times 6, 7 times 7. See if one of those numbers there will divide evenly into the 48. And if it does, then I can simplify this a little bit more. I can't just divide the 8 into the 16 and into the 48, because the 48 is under a radical. You can't do that. But you do have to divide that 8 into both those things up top. And so if you can't divide into the radical, then maybe I can simplify a little bit. Okay, so let me get rid of that canceling thing. All right, so let's see if we can. 16 plus or minus. Now 48, I think, is 16 times 3. So I could rewrite 48 as square root of 16 times the square root of 3 all over 8. Okay, keep going. use lots of paper here. X is equal to 16 plus or minus, the square root of 16 is 4 root 3 all over 8. Now, because that 4 is outside the radical, now I can do some canceling. But I can't just cancel, like I said before, the 8 into just the 16 or into the 4. I have to go into both of them. One way that is sort of a nice way of simplifying this one is to do factoring. And so I can look at the 16 and the 4 root 3, and they both have a common factor of 4. So I can take a 4 out, leaving me with 4 plus or minus just root 3 all over 8. And then the 4 divides into the 8 2 times. So my final answer will be 4 plus or minus root 3 all over 2. Another way you could have done that is, and it makes it for a slightly different answer, but it's the same, is that 8 is a common denominator. So you could write it as 16 over 8 plus or minus 4 root 3 over 8. Okay, then the 16 divided by 8 would be 2 plus or minus. Then the 4 goes into the 8 2 times, so then you'd have root 3 over 2. Notice that the answers are slightly different, but if you put them in the calculator, they'll be the same. You could sort of do the same common denominator thing with this one and say it's 4 over 2 plus or minus root 3 over 2. And then 4 divided by 2 gives you the 2. It gives you the same answer. On a test, I guess on a test I would be happy there. That's typically what the book or the answer would be on a test. But if you went to here, that would be 100% as well. If you only got maybe to here, I'm probably giving you a 3 out of 5. Oh, not there. There. I'm probably giving you a 3 out of 5 because you can simplify it down. It's like writing an answer as 2 over 4. And it's like, oh, come on, you can simplify that. And so that's the same thing with this one. You want to be able to simplify it. Sometimes it's a little harder to see that you can simplify it. Easy to see 2/4 goes to a half. A little bit tougher seeing this 16 plus or minus root 48 over 8 to simplify. But the key is to look at that radicand underneath the radical and see if any one of those pretty numbers will divide evenly into it. If they do, and now you could have gone 4 into that too, but you always want to pick the biggest number possible out of the pretty list to see if it'll go into that. All right, hopefully that helps you simplifying radicals from a quadratic equation.